It was imperialistic project. It was the most unfair project on the history to take people out of their land, throw them in nowhere, and to replace them with other people without any justification. This is horrible. I never seen anything like that in history. I am a student of history. I don't know how they did it. I can imagine when my family was thrown out of Palestine. When my mother told me, my father, my grandparents, how they were actually, in a very cruel way, ejected from their homeland, and they found themselves, starving in tents and nothing at all. They used to have everything, and suddenly they have nothing. They were actually scared for their life because they have seen people massacred. They have seen people shot dead in order to frighten them to leave their country by force. And that's what happened. I don't know how this so-called civilized West accepted this tragedy, how they encouraged it, how they actually participated in it. When I look at things like this, I feel very upset, very angry. Why they did it to us? They talk about democracy, they talk about human rights, they talk about human values. But why, after the Second World War, after the Holocaust, they committed this Holocaust against us? As a person who was born in a refugee camp, in a tent, literally in a tent, I'm shocked. I've been living in the West for the last 33 years. And when I listen to them talking about human rights, talking about human values, talking about suppression, talking about torture, and as they are against it, I said, my God, are they the same people? Are they the same people who rooted out my family from our lands, from our homes? Are they the same people who encouraged massacres against us? We were hopeless, helpless, defenseless people, illiterate. So I'm shocked. They did everything to actually torture us, to traumatize us, to traumatize our children. They actually used this, to break the skulls of children in order to scare us. They used to shoot people dead in front of everybody. I remember in 1956, when the Israeli invaded Gaza, when they occupied Gaza, they took, boys from the age of 16, 17, and men, and actually they paraded them in front of walls, and they shot them dead in front of us. I saw it myself. My father was taken to be shot dead in front of our eyes, and thank God, he was saved in the last minute. When an Israeli Arab who lost his family, and he was with the Israeli army, and because he saw his actually father was there among the people who were supposed to be shot dead, and he stopped, he halted it. So I have seen it. I have seen corpses in the streets of people who were shot dead in the head by the Israeli soldiers. My grandma, who was disabled, crippled. The Israeli knocked at the door. She couldn't open the door because she was crippled, and she started actually crawling in order to open the door. And they shot her dead. And it was a curfew on that day. We wake up in the morning. My mom went to feed her, and she found her swimming in her pool of blood. So this kind of cruelty, which we actually lived in, which we witnessed by our eyes as children. It is not breaking the skulls of children, which is actually alarming me, which is awful. It is the trauma inside us. So imagine when I was 6 years of age to see, young people shot dead in front of our eyes. They did nothing, simply because they are in the age the Israeli want to actually kill. They want to practice the ethnic cleansing against us, even after they kicked us out of our land. Nobody mentioning this, and it is documented. So how do you want me as a man now, to forget all these kind of things? It is haunting me until this moment. You know, these kind of pictures, these kind of images, still in my mind. I went back to Gaza after Oslo Agreement in 1996 for the first time. And I was shocked. The Israeli actually kept Gaza as it is. You know, since the occupation of 1967, they did not actually dig a single road. They did not build a single hospital. So imagine that after 35, 37 years of occupation, they never cared about Gaza people. I found everything as it is, but even more destruction, no construction at all in Gaza. So imagine an occupation to a country, no hospitals, no schools, nothing built, everything as it used to be in 1967. What can you call this? Gaza is a huge prison. It is a warehouse of poverty. Everybody is poor there. Everybody is suffering. It is 150 square miles, where about 2 million people crumbled in that part of the world. And on top of that, the Israeli imposed sanction against Gaza. You cannot have a single thing. You cannot have, milk. You cannot have electricity. You can't have water. You can't have car. You can't have fuel for your cars. You can have no food. It's amazing how the international community kept silent about this. I remember when the Palestinians actually stormed the Egyptian border because of the sanction was eating them. I remember I asked a niece. I said, "What did you do when the people actually broke the sanction and went to the Egyptian border on the other side of the border?" She said, "I went there, I bought 4 cans of powder milk to my children." I said, "That's all?" She said, "Yes, that's all, because my children needed milk, powder milk, because I cannot feed them. So that's why." So imagine that people, when they break the border, my niece is actually went there, crossed the border to buy milk for her children, powder milk, not even. So imagine the situation there. Again, this so-called, international community, why they were silent about that? Why they cannot, intervene? Why should they actually keep their eyes shut when children cannot find milk? When parents cannot find foods for their children to feed, to keep them alive? When hospitals run out of basic materials to treat people? Gaza, I was born in Gaza, I know Gaza. When the war against Gaza took place, when the Israeli actually bombarded Gaza with phosphoric bombs, when Gaza was bombed from air, from sea, from land, what amazed me? The whole borders were sealed, so people cannot run away for their lives. Imagine that, in every war, people can leave the battlegrounds. They can run away to protect their lives, to protect their children. In 1967, when the war took place and the Israelis shelled Gaza, we actually went to Sinai to stay away from the shellings, from the bombs. But in 2008, when the Israeli bombed Gaza, people had nowhere to go to, no shelter to go to. So they were, the only thing is to face death. So, and again, nothing happened, no intervention, as if there is a conspiracy to let the Israeli actually humiliate and kill Gazan people, to frighten them, to scare them. Gaza was a massive grave, a mass grave for the Palestinians. Whether during the war or before the war, or even now after the war, people can't go nowhere. So that's the problem. The unemployment is 60%, 70%. Nothing to eat unless you have a brother or a member of the family living abroad and earning some money. Send them peanuts in order to find food. Nothing more. They don't want more than foods. So this is Gaza. Gaza, a prison is a very, very simple word. It's more than a prison. At least in prison you have dignity. You have food. You have, you know, basic things to live, to survive. But in Gaza, it is a prison without proper food, without proper health, without proper dignity. So that's the problem in Gaza. Prison is a very soft word. It is worse than prison. I wish Gaza is a prison. Go to the prison of the Western world. You find doctors if you want to need treatment. You find 3 meals every day. You have protection, and you are not bombed in the prison. But people in Gaza, even they are in prison and they are bombed also, and no foods, no medicine. Nobody is caring about them.